I'm going to be showing you a stretch series for your hips. Now, I would like for you to perform some release work prior to this using a therapy ball or a foam roller. And this stretch will take about 15 minutes. Now, this can be used for an everyday movement prep or a lower specific workout. Okay, so to begin, we are going to want to pull our knees into our chest, get our lower back nice and flat, that sacrum happy, and rock gently from left to right. Now the first thing I want to do is some knee hugs, so hugging the right knee and letting the left leg extend. Now you can bend that left knee and keep the heel driven into the mat to help your pelvis from shifting, but also to create comfort in that pelvic area. And then put that heel down and pull the other one in for a hug. Now if you want, you can go ahead and extend that leg all the way out if you are feeling like you're ready for it. Pull in, hug, extend. Now I want to move on to my hamstring. So I want to be gentle with it, keeping a light bend in the knee. I'm going to go ahead and let that left leg extend and the right leg come up. See, I'm keeping that bend in my knee and pulling back, and then dropping and lifting, doing the same thing, keeping that slight bend in the knee. That will keep the hamstrings happy, and all of your nerves that run through it, they will also be happy. Now, if you're feeling like you have a sciatic flare-up issue, this is the way that you would stretch the hamstrings, not what they locked me, but with a bent one, so we can be kind to the nerves and the muscle. Great. Now let's go ahead and pull that right knee in for a chest, let the left leg extend. Take a deep breath in here, and exhale as you twist over to the side. Now I'm gonna have my left hand hooking that right knee down and right palm facing up. Now this arm can be wherever you think it is most comfortable. The goal is to eventually get comfort to where we can have our shoulder down on the floor. And after 30 seconds of holding in this position, we're gonna pull that right knee in, pull it foot in, pull it up, heel driven into the mat, push the hip back over to neutral, then pull this knee in for a hug and let that leg extend. So take again, big breath in, and exhale out. Left palm is facing up, angle that arm so your shoulder is happy, and hook the knee down with your right hand on that left knee. After we're here for, again, 30 seconds, we will pull that heel in, come on out of it, put the heel into the mat again, push the hip over to neutral, and pull both knees in and both feet in. Bring those feet wide on the mat. I'm gonna have my arms out to the side or overhead, whichever one feels better for you. We're gonna windshield wiper those knees from left to right, side to side. So we want them wide so we have the space to let them drop in there. And we can feel the outer hip down to the IT band all the way to the knee, getting some love. And then we move on. So, pulling those feet in, again, they are hip distance this time. Reset the pelvis. You're going to do a figure 4 stretch. Now there's 2 different stretches. The first thing we're gonna do is cross the ankle over to the knee. Now threading the needle, I'm gonna thread my hand through and let the left hand lock and lace with the other fingers and pull in. Now you can extend this if you want. You will get more of a hamstring stretch on this left leg, but the focus here is to pull in and feel the release on our hamstring, glute, and hip on this right leg. So this is the first version. The second version is going into a figure 4 with a twist. So after about 30 to 45 seconds here in this stretch, I'm gonna go ahead and put this foot down and drop it over to the side. Now this stretch alone is pretty deep, but if you feel like you need more, you take your left hand and hook the ankle on this side. So when I get to the other side, you'll get a better view of it. But what I want you to see from this side is this part of my glute and hip, this connection right here, even into my IT band a bit, but it's mostly in my glute and this outer hip region. That's gonna be where most of the stretch is coming in. So after you're done, take your hands, pull up, and you can come out of that without the aid of your hands if you don't need them. And then we'll switch it out. Make sure, again, you always reset the pelvis, do a tiny little glute bridge just to reset and then cross over. Figure 4, first we thread the needle and come on through. So again, we're feeling that stretch on the outer left hip, but we're also feeling this in our hamstring and glute, as well as the IT band. After 30 to 45 seconds here, we're gonna go ahead and then let that foot drop. And now we see that knee guides the foot over. Now again, this stretch could be just enough, but if you're looking for more, you take the right hand, hook it on the ankle, and pull it in. The tiniest tug goes a very long way. So be mindful of what you need and what you don't need, and listen to your body at all times. So right here, just hooking it alone was enough. If I pull it even more, that's a really deep stretch, and it might be too much, so I'm gonna back off. And just here alone could be enough. Once you're done with that, hook again under, pull it up, and again, reset the pelvis. I'm gonna undo whatever I just did in a positive way, put those feet wide. You can have the arms at your sides, whatever works best for you. The focus is this movement in our legs and our hip. All right. Now, another stretch that a lot of my clients really enjoy is similar to the first stretch we did. But what you would do, again, reset that pelvis. I'm gonna cross that leg all the way over as if I was sitting in a chair, and I'm gonna twist over to the side and drop it. So notice how my knee is hooking down the shin on this leg, and that feels okay. But if that doesn't feel comfortable, then this stretch might not be for you. And that's all right. To get out of it, you can just pull on up yourself, or you can hook under and push the knee up. Reset the pelvis. Get the legs together so you can cross properly and drop over to the side. Now you'll feel a different pressure occurring from that knee holding the shin down. So that creates a different stretch. It's similar, but still different. And no stretch is really better than the other. It's just a matter of which stretch is gonna be more appropriate for what you need and what your goal is. And then come on out of it. All right, now, pulling those knees into the chest. See how I adjust and I pull up my pelvis? I want my lower back to be flat. So when I rock my knees left to right, I can feel a good pressure occurring in my sacrum. And that feels like a little tiny massage. And it also kind of just helps to reset everything. Now you can also do a double knee drop to the side if that feels good. Extending the legs if you want a little bit more hamstring, that's an option. Another option is when you're in that first stretch here and you go for the twist. If you want more, you can always extend that leg out a little bit too. It's gonna be a very big hamstring stretch. So be mindful again of what you need and what you don't need. Even just here, I feel a nice stretch occurring, and that tiny bit of movement can either make it really good or too much. So back off when you need to. And then come on out of it. Now my last thing here is happy baby, where you can grab the heel, the foot, the ankles, wrapping on the inside, or just behind the knees. Now you can rock left to right here, or here. Or you could just not rock at all. Some people are happy just here. And after 30 seconds of rocking back and forth, bring the feet in and hold here. So I'm letting the feet drop out, and I'm just wrapping my hands on the outer ankle and shin, the base of my shin, and I'm just pulling in here. Now if I want more, I'm gonna squeeze my shoulder blades together and pull in, but usually just here is enough to feel a nice stretch on that inner thigh. And now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to a seated series as well as a kneeling series. So let's do that. All right, for the rest of this hip opening series, I'm gonna be using a foam roller to guide me through movement. You may not necessarily need it, but it's good to have around just in case. So getting into a half kneeling position, I want my left foot forward, right foot back, kneeling down. So right here, I have this roller so I can hinge forward. I'm gonna flatten the back foot, hinging forward here, and so it's helping me keep a nice tall chest. Now this way I can actually feel the hip flexor opening on the right leg, and it helps guide me forward as well. So if I need to maybe adjust my foot, I can hop back, put that forward a little bit more, and And there we go, I'm even deeper in the stretch. So right now I have my knee in line with my hip, the knee is also in line with the toe. So right here I'm feeling a nice big stretch from the obliques and abs into my hip flexor, down to my quad, all the way to the knee. After being here for about 30 seconds, I want to go ahead and shift the weight back and lift my toes on the left foot in the front. Locking the knee so we can get a nice extension here. Now, locking the knee is not always a good thing, but in this case, you'll get a better stretch. Now, I don't really necessarily need this to help me, so I'm gonna move to the side, and I want a deeper stretch, so I'm gonna start to hinge forward a bit more. And the deeper I get here, the more of a stretch I'm going to feel here. Now, mind you, having a slight bend in the knee is totally okay. It's probably a little bit safer for those nerves in the hamstring like we spoke about earlier. So again, if you don't need this, you just come back on forward again, and I still have a nice tall chest, and I'm still getting that nice stretch and release in my right hip flexor and my quad. Now, I'm gonna shift back. I'm also gonna move this foot outward even more, and now I have a different stretch happening where now my inner thigh on the right leg is getting more love, and I still feel my hip flexor getting some stretch and my hip dropping a bit more on that right, so it's getting a little bit deeper in that as well. So right here is good to keep the chest up, and this is a nice active stretch. Now after you've been here for a while, we can go into a passive stretch where you would come down to the forearms. Now that's only if it's available to you. Again, we can use this roller to help us in this stretch. Here, we can also put the roller down and come to our forearms here. Yoga blocks are essentially the best thing to use, but if you only have a foam roller, this is the way. So, coming on out of it, I'm gonna push back again, and this is why I like to have the roller or 2 yoga blocks, because now I can get this nice stretch here. I feel my inner thigh getting a stretch, my hamstring, my glute getting a stretch, but I have some nice support here from the roller. It can also be on the floor, but this just feels a little bit nicer, a little bit more secure. Plus I can easily walk myself up by rolling the roller towards me. So shifting forward, I want to switch it out just so you can see what the other side looks like. So now this foot's going to go forward, same thing. I'm starting at 90 degrees and shifting, but you'll see that 90 degrees is a good way to set up, but you want to walk the foot 1 step forward so that when you lean, we're not having too much of a knee tracking past the toe. It won't really feel too great, and also you want to be able to keep the heel on the mat in order to get into a solid base and be able to stay here for the stretch. We want that heel to be connected, otherwise we're not necessarily getting into the position that we want to be in. So again, I'm going to walk my foot forward even a little bit more and keep my chest up nice and tall with this, keeping it an active stretch. Then again, after 30 seconds, I'm going to push back. I have support here. I can also be here. My leg is in line with my hip on this one. Then I'm going to shift forward after 30 seconds. Move that foot out to the side. Hinge forward again. Still getting a good stretch. I want a little bit more, so I'm going to come down to my forearms on this roller. After 30 seconds, pushing back, raising those toes, and here, my hamstring on the right is tighter, so locking my knee is not necessarily an option. So I have a slight bend in the knee here, and that's okay. I'm still being kind to my hamstring and still getting a great stretch. Again, shifting forward. So I like to do rocking as well, where I come forward and back. I like to do this movement before a workout, where I'm doing dynamic movement, priming the pattern of going back and forth, and holding longer duration stretches at the end of the workout when you are completed in the program. So pushing back, coming on up. Another great stretch. Walking this forward and sitting back. So I have a nice back stretch happening, but also I feel a nice stretch in my lower back into my glutes. That's going to help my hips as well. Getting the chest dropped, and make sure that you give your head a shake of no to make sure that your neck is not tight. Now, another movement I like to do is getting my knees into a wide position, letting the feet flop out, and the feet will move wherever they want to move in the series. So reaching forward with the high chest, not a low one. I'm going to hinge forward, let my hips drop, and then come back and sink. So my feet will wiggle in and out, in and out. I'm just going with the flow. to a child's pose for a little bit after that. That also is an amazing feeling. Now you can put an ear down, you can have your chin, you can cross your hands, so if you need a lifted head, all are good options. Then we're gonna move on to the 90-90 stretch. So again, I want my roller by me because that might help me in my movement, but I also can use yoga blocks. They are ideal. So 90-90 right here. Starting with my left leg forward, I'm gonna pop up and get onto my sits bone and then walk myself forward. So again, this is an active stretch. This is a passive stretch. They're both great, they're just great at different times. So right here, I want to be in my active stretch first, where I'm making sure I feel this opening of my hip not my hip flexor, my hamstring and my glute. I'm going to walk over to the side and reach with my right hand. So now I'm opening up this entire front body, this whole fascial net. And then I'm going to swoop back and open up towards the legs. And then another thing you could do to warm up or just to get moving, you can reach and reach. Reach and reach. Assistance in this, using my roller. I have it in front of me and I can roll it out to where I need help. This is a good one. If this is a very tight position, just having the hands here is good. Sometimes I need people to come to here. They have wrist issues, can't be in a bent position for a long period of time. Great way to also do this stretch where my chest is still up, it's still pretty active, but I can also roll out and get deeper in it and pull back up. So I'm active, passive, and pulling it. Great way to work. After that, you will go ahead to the right leg, do the same series. Again, 90-90, check in. Is your ankle and knee in line with each other? Is this knee in line with the hip? Is this knee in line with the hip? I like to use the yoga mat. That's a great way to line up. So I can line up this leg parallel to this edge and this shin parallel to this edge. So we have, a good little note on where to be. Again, I'm gonna reach forward for a couple of seconds, and I'm gonna reach and reach. Then I'm gonna open up to these legs, and then I'm gonna do some movement of reaching and reaching, reaching and reaching. You can come forward again. So I like to go into the passive stretch once I've done all of this movement and all of this opening. Now another great stretch I really like is being in this position, leaning to this side of whatever knee is forward with that forearm on the floor, and then a big reach up and overhead. Now this, we're opening up this entire net. Now, when I'm in this position, this feels good, but I want to walk this knee back a little bit more so I can feel even more of that hip flexor opening and the whole entire fascial net just getting its very, very, very good stretch. And then come on out of it and then switch it out. Let's go to the other side just to be sure we are even Stevens. So, forearm reaching and then up and over. Again, I'm going to walk that knee back. Now I have even better stretch occurring. You can even turn a little bit and come forward. And after all that, I'm gonna go ahead and get into a lean back, wide feet, and again, windshield wiper, side to side, opening up. See, my hips are popping, so I know that I've done some really good release work because now my joints are getting happy. All right, once that's done, you can also, again, butterfly position, having blocks under the knees to support and aid from maybe going all the way up here to eventually working our way down here. And also, if you have two rollers or one roller, you can also do one leg here, one leg out. That's a good stretch. Another fantastic stretch for the inner thigh and as well as the legs. I would have my left leg in, right leg out. Again, I'm leaning forward so I can get onto my sits bones. I'm gonna reach for the foot and reach overhead. I feel a great stretch happening from my oblique into my hip. So even though we're releasing the hip, we need to release everything around it as well. And then coming back and doing this side. Then switch it out. Again, make sure you're on those sits bones. Reach and reach. And then reach and reach. And take your time with it. You can hold this pose for 30 seconds. You see how I'm leaning my forearm too, so I have a nice support. Be here for 30, go over for 30. Or if you're just preparing for some movement in the morning or before a workout, I would suggest going back and forth. Back and forth. Just a review. We're going to be using this hip series in order to get ready for our workouts, our day, and after our workouts to make sure that we are feeling good and we will work towards a very lovely recovery. We're using the foam roller or yoga blocks to help aid us in our movements so that we feel stability in these movements and we can focus on the stretch and not so much falling over. Also, supporting your knee in a kneeling position is extremely important. Having another yoga mat or a balance pad or even a blanket or a very thin pillow, that will help aid the knee in feeling comfortable so that we can also feel comfortable through every single movement we do in that kneeling position. We also want to make sure that we have proper breathing in our movement. Now, holding our breath is something that we usually want to do when we're stretching, and that's not going to help whatsoever. So, continuously breathing, especially when we are feeling the most tension being worked on, that is when you definitely want to check in with yourself and make sure that you are breathing. Okay, great. So, I hope this series has really helped you. Be mindful of your movement, listen to your body, don't do too much. Don't push past a point that you feel is definitely a breaking point. That's going to be doing more harm than good. So, listening to the body, drinking water, doing these stretches in the morning, in the afternoon, before and after a workout, whenever you think you need them, they are always good. Hope you enjoyed.